إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. واشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له واشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى أهله ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. Give praise and thanks to Almighty Allah. We ask Him to shower His blessings upon the noblest of mankind, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, members of his household, his wives, his companions, and all those who have stood, are standing, and will come to stand on this part of Sirat al-Mustaqim. Alhamdulillah. We have not ceased to be studying the book, as we have not ceased to be following the book Az-zakaat fi-l-Islaam fi-Dh-Dhawi-l-Kitaab was-Sunnah by Sheikh Sa'id ibn Wahb Al-Qahtaaniy. He is the author of the popular book on Adhkar, Hisnu-l-Muslim. So we have been taking his, we've been following his very beneficial book, Rahimahullah. And last week we got to the topic of Zakatul Bahimatul An'am. Zakatul Bahimatil An'am. The zakat that is payable on animals, livestock. We call them bahima, we said, because their speech is unintelligible to us, even though amongst themselves they understand what it is that they say. And they call an arm because they are ni'mah, blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they're called sa'ima because, like Allah says, simahum fi wujuhihim, when describing the mu'minun, that their signs is on their foreheads, min athari sujud, by way or from the effect of their making sujud, from time to time. So the sa'ima, they plant their hoofs as signs, their tracks of their hoofs as signs as they go about pasturing. So they're called as-sa'ima because of that. So last week we said there are 4 shurut, there are 4 conditions that must be met before the zakat authorities can collect zakah on bahimatul an'am, before the one who owns them knows that zakat is obligatory on him. So what are those 4 conditions? Can somebody remind us? That must be present in bahimatul an'am, and once they are present, zakah becomes due on the one who possesses them.
Okay, one, they have to reach the nisab.
Barakallahu feek. Barakallahu feek.
They have to reach the nisab, and secondly, they must be they must be possessed by the owner. I mean, full possession.
Yeah, those are the general conditions. So, but with respect to Bahimatul An'am specifically, after having, met those general preconditions for payment of zakah, what are the ones that we mentioned last week that we should have before the zakah will be compulsory on Bahimatul An'am? They actually brought out of the general, preconditions, but they can be easily overlooked. So the Sheikh Rahimullah puts those 4 things there that we must not overlook when we're talking about zakat being due on Bahimatul An'am. What are they? Okay, we said that they must be held for productive purposes, not so that either we're keeping them in order to milk them, and by that we are generating revenue, or we are keeping them in order to fatten them, they grow, and we sell them. Then of course their price when we are selling them will be higher than the price that we bought them. Then also we might be raising them, so that they reproduce, and we sell, the numbers that as they reproduce. So the wealth that we have increases as they reproduce. So all these are, means of keeping Bahimatul An'am for productive means. The other is that the Bahimatul An'am that will be zakatable are those that have pastured free range for most of the year. That have pastured free range. Their owner is not the one supplying their food for most of the year. So this condition must also be met. So if we have maybe a ranch somewhere, and the owner is the one that brings them hay for most of the year, he buys the hay, not that he goes to cut them or something like that. He buys the hay and feeds it to them. Even if he's going to cut them, if he's going to expend money in that instance, then it is regarded as him feeding them. But if they pasture by themselves for most of the year, then they are referred to as Sa'ima. If they do not pasture for most of the year by themselves, if they are not free range for most of the year by themselves, then they are not referred to as Sa'ima, and hence they are not zakatable. So being free range for most of the year is another condition. And the last condition is that 1 year must have clocked on them. So held for production means pastured for the greater part of a year, clocked 1 year since they had reached the nisab, and of course the one that you mentioned, that they must have met the nisab. Okay, alhamdulillah. So these are the 4 conditions that should be met before zakah on Bahimatul An'am is compulsory. Now, today, inshallah, we'll be taking the nisab of Bahimatul An'am. Remember, when we're talking about Bahimatul An'am, the types of livestock that we're referring to. So, is chicken one of them? If someone has a poultry farm, is this part of Bahimatul An'am?
If it's meeting the other conditions that that have been listed,
okay,
I would think.
Okay, Barakallahu fikum. Does anybody support or dispute that? Now, Malaziyad.
I think they're not part of it.
Okay, why?
I think the Bahimatul An'am, usually they refer to cattle, sheep, goats, camels, this type of four-legged animals.
Barakallahu fikum. Barakallahu fikum. So this is the correct one. Barakallahu fikum. The Bahimatul An'am are the four-legged An'am livestock that graze, and the camels, the cattle, whether they are bulls, cows, oxes, buffaloes, they're all referred together as baqarah. And the third one are sheep, and there you have your lamb, your ewe, your ram, your goats, and all these are all together in that category. So they're just three broad categories: camels and cameloids, also things that are camel in nature. And you have cattle, like we described, and you have sheep, the sheep family. So these are the three that are zakatable. For poultry, yes, they are not bahimatul an'am, but if the person is keeping the poultry birds for harvesting their eggs and selling their eggs, then those eggs, because they are being sold, are zakatable. Their zakat will be the zakat on trade goods. Their zakat will be the zakat on trade goods. If he is also, the owner is also selling the chicken or the birds that he is raising, then they are also trade goods. So even though they are not bahimatul an'am, they are trade goods, and you'll pay 2.5% on them as zakah when 1 year passes. So bahimatul an'am, the zakat is what we'll be looking at today. To make it easy, we'll go from the book to points that we've extracted to make it easy for us to understand. So today we'll be taking the zakah that is due on these bahimatul an'am. The camels will take first, followed by cows, followed by sheep. So the basis for this, one of the core hadith on which the payment of zakah on bahimatul an'am is based is the letter written by Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu during his khilafah to Anas ibn Malik when he was sending him to Bahrain. So he said, "Hadihi farida, faridatu sadaqah." Said, this is what is obligatory. In the letter, he said, this is what is obligatory with respect to the compulsion of zakah. Allati farada Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ala al-Muslimin. That the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam obligated the Muslims with. Allati amara Allahu biha rasulah. It is also what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala obligated or sent his messenger with, or commanded him to do. فَمَنْ سُئِلَهَا مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ عَلَى وَجْهِهَا فَلْيُعْطِيهَا. Whoever is asked to pay this amongst the Muslims, remember we said one of the conditions for payment of zakah is Islam. So whoever is asked to pay these things that I'm about to highlight, to itemize rather, amongst the Muslims, then he must pay it. وَمَنْ سُئِلَهَا وَمَنْ سُئِلَ فَوْقَهَا فَلَا يُعْطِي. And whoever is asked above what is itemized here should not pay it. في 24 من الإبل. So he started there with ibl, camels. So he said, if you have 24 camels, in 24 camels that is owned by someone, فَمَدُونَهَا, and what is less than 24 in number, min al-ghanam, this ghanam here, ordinarily ghanam will mean sheep, but because ibl had preceded here, the ghanam has the same meaning as the, because camel has preceded here, the ghanam has the same meaning as the ibl, the camel. So فَمَنْ دُونَهَا مِنَ الْغَنَمِ مِنْ كُلِّ خَمْسٍ شَاءَ. If you have 24 camels, then every group of 5 camels within that 24, you pay 1 sheep per group of 5. You pay 1 group, you pay 1 sheep per group of 5. So the first 5, you pay 1. The next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you have 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, you pay another. So making a total of 2 sheep that you pay now. The next batch, 11 to 15, you pay 1 more sheep, making a total, if you have that, 2, 3 sheep, up until you get to 24. إذا بلغت 25, if the total that one has of camel is up to 25, إلى 35, up until 35, from 25 to 35, ففيها بنت مخاض أنثى, then you are to pay bintul makhad, a type of camel called bintul makhad. The naming of camels is based on 2 things: the state which the mother, the camel that gave birth to the particular camel in question should ordinarily be, whether it is pregnant, whether it is with milk, or things like this. So this is one of the ways of naming the camels. And another way of naming the camels is the number of years that the camel has spent on earth, has spent alive. So since birth. So this is what the naming. Inshallah, when we look at the chart, there's a chart that will put all that what we are saying here into context, and we'll be able at that time translate or give better meanings to the bintul makhad and all that. So he's going to pay bintul makhad. So note here, this is the first time in the payments of zakah on camels that we are paying in camels. Initially, when they were 24 and below, between 5 and 24, there was payment in sheep. Payment was in sheep. But once it got to 25, payment stopped being in sheep, and it began as payment in camels. It is only in camels that you have, this, where you're paying zakah of a particular type of wealth in other than that type of wealth. We're talking about in Bahimatul An'am right now. So amongst Bahimatul An'am, it is in camels that you have payments with another type of livestock once it is less than 25. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu said, فَإِذَا بَلَغَتْ 36, if the total number of camel equals 36, إِلَى 45, from 36 to 45, فَفِيهَا بِنْتُ لَبُونَ أُنْثَى, you're going to have a female camel that is referred to as Bintu Labun, because her mother at this time has milk. Bintul Makhad, because her mother at that time, ordinarily, even if she isn't in actual sense but ordinarily the mother should be pregnant with another camel. So it's called Bintul Makhab. The mother should be pregnant with another camel and close to labor. So Makhab is labor, the pangs of labor. If you remember in the Quran, Surah Al-Maryam, when Allah was talking about Maryam, فَأَجَاءَهَا الْمَخَاضُ إِلَى جِذْعِ النَّخْلَةِ. So labor pangs took her to the stem of a palm tree, for her, and that's where she, gave birth. Now, so the Prophet Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu Siddiq, he said, فَإِذَا بَلَغَتْ سِتًّا وَأَرْبَعِينَ, if it becomes 46, إِلَى 16, up to 60, فَفِيهَا حِقَّةٌ. Hiqqa is another type of camel based on its age. Hiqqa is based on its age now, not based on what his mother is doing. That's how they name it. Inshallah, as I said, when we get to the charts, we'll give more clarity on that. Hiqqa turuqata al-jamal. فَإِذَا بَلَغَتْ وَاحِدَةً وَسِتِّينَ, if it becomes 61 total of camels that one owns, إِلَى خَمْسٍ وَسَبْعِينَ, up unto 75, فَفِيهَا جَذَعَةٌ. Jada'a is also another type of camel based on age. It is as we go from one type of camel to the other, their age, their ages increase. So Jada'a is a camel that is older than a Hiqqa, and Hiqqa is older than Bintul Labun, and Bintul Labun is older than Bintul Makhab. فإذا بلغت ستا وسبعين إلى 90, if he gets to 76 up until 90, if you have this range of camel with you, 76 to 90, ففيها بنت لبون, binta labun, then you're going to pay 2 bintu labuns. They're going to pay 2 bintu labuns. فإذا بلغ 91, if it becomes 91, إلى 20, يشرين ومئة, up until 91 to 120. ففيها حقان طرقة الجمل. Then you have حقة طرقة الجمل to pay. فإذا زاد على 20 ومئة, if it becomes more than 120, anything more than 120, of course that starts from 121. The scholars have a different opinion about this. Some say it means that once it gets to 130. But the majority of the scholars say what the Prophet ﷺ said, which Abu Bakr as-Siddiq wrote in his letter to Al-Anas bin Malik when he was sending into Bahrain, is what we are reading now. He said, when it becomes more than 120, 121 is more than 120. So once it becomes that, that is when we effect the new band of zakat. And this is a more correct opinion. Allahu a'lam. So I said, radiyallahu anhu, فَإِذَا زَادَتْ عَلَى 20 وَمِئَةٍ, if it becomes more than 120 camels, فَفِي كُلِّ 40 بِنْتُ لَبُونَ, then in every 40 extra, in every 40, you are going to, not extra, in every 40, you are going to pay Bintul Labun, 1 Bintul Labun. So it means you discard the previous bands of payment of zakat in Bintul Makhad, Bintul Labun, Hiqqa, and Jada'a. You discard that once you get to 121. And you now start looking at them in 40s. Or, as the next one says, وَفِي كُلِّ 50 حِقَّةٍ, or 50s. And for every 50, you give the type of camel called hiqqa. So from here, let's just fast track to the jadwal, the chart. So this is the chart, the nisab of camels. So if you have 1 to 4 camels, there's nothing for you to pay. There's nothing for you to pay. And Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, said this also. He says, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَكُنْ مَعَهُ إِلَّا أَرْبَعَ مِنَ الْإِبْلِ فَلَيْسَ فِيهَا صَدَقَةٌ. If someone has nothing more than 4 camels with him, then there's no zakat for him to pay. There's no zakat for him to pay. Now, so 1 to 4 camels, there's nothing for you to pay. Now, these ranges that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu wrote in his letter to Anas bin Malik, it is best to understand them, rather than understanding them as ranges, it is best to understand them as points, cut-off points with respect to what you are going to pay. The cut-off points for paying nothing, the cut-off point for paying nothing is 5. Once you have 5 camel, you have to pay 1 sheep. So you continue paying 1 sheep, even if the number of camels increase, until you get to the next cut-off point, which is 10. Then when you get to 10, you pay 2 sheep. So it means that 6, 7, 8, 9 sheep, you still pay 1 sheep because you have not reached the next cutoff point. The next cutoff point is 15. Then you pay 3 sheep. The next cutoff point is 20. The next cutoff point is 25. So you see here, it's an increment of 5, 5, 5 until you get to 25. When you get to 25, then you stop paying in sheep. Once you get to 25, you stop paying in sheep and you start paying in camels. At 25, at 25 and above, before you get to the next cutoff point, which is 36. So meaning between 25 and 35, you pay 1 bint al-Makhad. Bint al-Makhad is translated as daughter of the one in labor or close to labor. And we'll treat this later. If the bint al-Makhad, the bint means daughter, so it has to be a female. However, if bint al-Makhad is not available, then 1 ibn al-Labun, a male of a higher age, of the next age bracket, is going to be accepted. So because a female camel is more worthy, is more expensive than its mate as a male camel. So if you have a male camel and a she camel of the same age, then the female one is more prized than the male one. So if you're going to equate, therefore, then it will be the male that has a higher age that will balance up with a female of a lower, age in the next, in the previous age bracket. So Bint al-Makhab is the daughter of the one that is near to labor or at labor. A she camel and this is a she camel that has completed its first year and is in its second year. So whether its mother has actually taken in again, become pregnant again or not, since common things occur commonly, the Arabs name this camel Bint al-Makhad nonetheless, whether the mother actually has taken in or not. Now, so once it gets to 25, this is the next cutoff point, and this is the first time when you start paying in camels, and you pay 1 Bint al-Makhad. When it gets to 36, then you pay Bitul Labun. We all know what Laban is, milk. So this is the daughter of the one with milk. It means that this camel is in its second year, has finished the second year, and is in its third year. By that time, all things being equal, the mother should have given birth to another camel after her and should now be with milk, breastfeeding the new camel. So this is Bintu Labun. Now, the next bracket after 36 is 46. And what you pay is 1 hiqqa. A hiqqa is from haq, to have the rights to do something, or to get something, or to reach the age where you are now able to do something. So with respect to the camel, it is the age that that camel attains where it is now able to mate with a male camel. So they refer to that as hiqqa. Turuqata al-jamal. Turuqata al-jamal means able to mate with a male camel. The next bracket, the next cutoff point is 61. So that means 47, 48, 49, up to 60, you still pay 1 hiqqa. So when you get to 61, just by adding 1 to 60, you go to the next bracket of payment, and that is jada'a. Jada'a. And it is said that it is so named that by that time it will have shed its first, the front teeth, and you have like his stump there, and his stump is called jada'a, like the jidar of a date palm, a stump. Now, so this is also a camel in its 4th year, and has finished its 4th year and is now in its 5th year. The next bracket is 76. So in 70, before we get there, let us note something. Bintul Makhab is paid when you get to 25. So if you have between 25 and 35, that is before you get to the next cutoff point, you pay Bintul Makhab. This is the only time that you pay Bintul Makhab. In the payment of Zakah, once you go beyond 35, there's no Bintul Makhab to pay again. There's no Bintul Makhab to pay again, except in a situation that is called Jubran. We'll treat that later, reconciliation, where you don't have a particular type of camel that is required of you, but you have one that is less than it, or one in age, or one that is higher than it in age. So if you have the one that is less than it in age, it will be accepted from you, so long as you add 2 sheep to it, or 20 dirhams. And if you have one that is older than it, then the reverse will happen. It will be accepted from you, and the zakat collectors would, pay you 2 sheep or 20 dirhams. Not 20 dirhams that we spend here, but in terms of silver measure. So also jada, it happens only once you get to the 61 bracket, before you get to the 76 bracket. So between 61 and 75, you pay 1 jada'a. After that, except in the case of Jubran, we will not be referring to Bintul Makhab and jada'a again. All we'll be referring to is bintul labun and hiqqa. That's what we'll be referring to. Bintul labun and hiqqa. Now, we should place in our minds that after, after this jada'a, everything else is now bintul labun and hiqqa, on the basis that we equate bintul labun to every 40 and we equate hiqqa to every 50. So when you hear bintul labun after jada'a, you're thinking in 40s. When you hear hiqqa after jada'a, you're thinking in 50s. So when you get to 76, you have 2 bintul labun to give. Bintul labun, we say it is 40s. So you have 40 times 2, which is what? 80, which is in the bracket of 76 to 90. So you give 2 bintul labun. Anything from 76 to 90, it's 2 bintul labun. Why not hiqqa? Why don't we have 2 hiqqa? If you have 2 hiqqa, that will be far out of the margin. It will not be within the range. That will be 50 times 2. That will be 100. Okay, why not 1 hiqqa and 1 bintul labun? That would be 40 plus 50. That technically will be, or in calculating that way will be acceptable. However, what Abu Bakr as-Siddiq wrote is that you have bintul labun. So So let's go to the next band. Now, if you have 91 to 120, that is, the next cutoff point is 90. Then what will be within the range is what? 2 hiqqa, 50 times 2. Hiqqa is in 50s, bintul labun is in 40s. So if you take 1 bintul labun and 1 hiqqa, you have 50 plus 40. That is 90. It is not within the range. If you have 2 bintul labuns, 40 times 2, 80, not within the range. But if you have 2 hiqqa, 50 times 2, that is 100, then that is within the range. So within this range, anything within this range, you give 2 hiqqa, ruqata al-jamal. When you get to the next cutoff point, 121, then if you do, obviously it is more than 2 hiqqa, so you need to add something to it. So if you say you add 2 hiqqa and 1 bintul labun is 40, then that will be 140. It's outside of the range. It's outside of the range. Okay, why not 3 hiqqa? 3 hiqqa would be 50 times 3, 150, out of the range. So what about, so the closest that we can get is 3 banatul labun, which is 40 times 3, 120. 120 is not within the range, but it is the closest to the range. So it is accepted, so it is made a part of the range. If you get 120, there's already 50 times 2 hiqqa for that. But once you get, so if you are in 91 to 120 bracket, you must use 2 hiqqa. You must use 2 hiqqa. The next cutoff point starts from 121. So these 121, the only thing it can accommodate from the calculations we've done, the closest to it is 120, and that is 3 banatul labun, 40 times 3. So all extras between ranges have no impact, as we said. If you have 91, you pay the same thing as if you have 100, if you have 110, if you have 119, if you have 120. It's still 2 hiqqas that you pay. 130 is the next cutoff point. It's 1 hiqqa plus 1 binta labun, plus binta labun. That is 2 bintu labun. So that's hiqqa is 50, bintu labun is 40, sorry. So 40 times 2 is 80. 50 plus 80, 130. So over here, from this point onwards, you see that the calculations equates exactly to the first, to the cutoff points. They equate to the cutoff points. So from, what do you call it, from 130. So anything above the cutoff point, we said, has no impact. You still pay the same thing as the cutoff point in that bracket. 140. How can we calculate hiqqa and bintul labun? Remember, we're no longer doing bintul makhad and we are no longer doing java. Everything is now bintul labun and hiqqa. So the way we can, for 140, the way we can do it is 2 hiqqas and 1 bintul labun. 2 hiqqa is 50 times 2. 1 bintul labun is 40. 50 times 2 is 100 plus 40, that's 140. When we get to 150, it's 3 hiqqa, 50 times 3. 160 is 4 banatul labun, 40 times 4. 170, 3 banatul labun, 1 hiqqa. That's 40 times 3 plus 50. You get 170. At 180, binta labun, that is 2 bintu labuns, plus 2 hiqqas. That's 40 times 2, bintu labun times 2, 40 times 2, and hiqqa 50, 50 times 2, 2 hiqqas. So you have 180, 80 plus 100. At 190, you have 3 hiqqas, 50 times 3, plus 1 bintu labun, which is 40. So 150 plus 40, you have 190. 200, at 200, you have 2 choices. It's either you go with hiqqa, 4 hiqqas. Hiqqa is 50, so 50 times 4 will give you 200. Or alternatively, you can go with banatul labun. Banatul labun is 40. 40 times 5, so 5 banatul labun, you get the same 200. So anything after this, you continue in the same way as we started from, over here. So it is for every 40, you go with you pay 1 bintul labun. For every 50, you pay 1 hiqqa. And when using either hiqqa or bintul labun will give you the same answer as over here in the 200 bracket. You choose either of them. So this is the nisab for camels. So we can say, but I don't have camels and I don't know anyone that knows camels. Number one, knowing these things is part of preserving the knowledge of the deen and passing it on. So as a man, you don't have to have menses before you know the fiqh of menses. You'll have a wife that you can teach. You'll have daughters that you can teach. You have other people that you can teach. So learning this deen and passing it on is part of the deen in and of itself, and you get rewarded for that. Secondly, the time will come when the most treasured possession of a man will be these livestock. And what the world has now in terms of ability to destroy the world several times over, and nuclear ammunitions and all that, points to that. But a greater point of that is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ of the end time, when the Dajjal appears, and in his final days, when he is defeated, those who will be in that army will be riding on horses, according to the hadith. The scholars say one of the possibilities is that all these weapons and everything, people will have, used them, destroy themselves and all that, and people start from the scratch again. Allahu A'lam. So, and also there are investments that one can make in camels. There are camels in the animal markets here in the Arab world. So, you can invest in camels and, get revenue from that. So we need to know these things. The next is a shorter one, which is cows. The cows, they are named also by years. And in this case, there are only two types of cows, because in the case of cows, they mature, they get to maturity faster. If you have a cow between 12 to 15 months, that cow is ready to procreate and give birth to another cow. Whereas for the camel, you start from the first year, finishes the first year, enters the second year, that's bintul mahab. It is still not able to, procreate. Whereas a cow at the age of 12 months is ready. In some species, between 12 to 14 and 12 to 15 months. In camels, after bintul mahab, you go to bintul labun, still not ready to procreate. From there, you go to hiqqa, turuqat al-jamal. That is when it is able to procreate. It's in its third year. I just finished its third year, and it is now in its fourth year. So for cows, the things that we have to deal with are just two: tabi' and musinna. Tabi' or tabi'a. The male is tabi', the female is tabi'a, or musinna. Tabi' from tabi'in, taba'a, to follow. It is so named because it is still following its mother about. So it is called the tabi'a. And this musinna is like musinna, from sin, age. Musin is something or someone that is aged. So in terms of cattle age, this is an elderly cattle. So these are the two that we'll be dealing with on the cows. The first cutoff point for cows is 30. The first cutoff point for cows is 30. Anything less than 30, 1 to 29, there's no zakat to be paid, even if they are sa'ima, because 30 is the nisab, and reaching the nisab is one of the prerequisites for paying zakat. Once you get to the first cutoff point, which is 30, you pay one tabi'a or tabi'a. In the case of camels, we are paying in female camels. In the case of cows, it doesn't matter, male or female. So the tabi is a big bull or a cow that has finished its first year and is now in its second year. So just as we equated Bintul Labun with 40 and Hector with 50, here we'll equate Tabi'a or Tabi'a with 30, and we'll equate Musinna with 40. So after the cutoff point, for every 30, you pay a Tabi'a. For every 40, you pay a Musinna. That's what that means. So start from the first, from the Nisab, 30. Once you have 30, you pay one Tabi'a. The next cutoff point is 40. Anything between 30 and 40 goes along with 30. Goes along with the previous cutoff point. And you pay nothing in increments in terms of Zakah. The next cutoff point is 40. You pay a Musinna. The next cutoff point is 60, which is equal to 30 times 2. Remember, every 30, you pay one Tabi'a or Tabi'a, bull or cow, that has finished 1 year and is in its second year. So 60 will now be 2 times 30, and that will be 2 Tabi'a. 70 will be what? It will be 30 plus 40. 1 Tabi'a and 1 Musinna. And that's what we have here. 1 Musinna, 1 Tabi'a, or Tabi'a. 80 will be 40 times 2. That is Musinna times 2. 2 Musinna. And that is what we have here. 90 will be 30 times 3. 3 Tabi'a. 3 Tabi'a or 3 Tabi'a. Either cow or bull. 100 will be 1 Musinna, which is 40, plus 2 Tabi'a, which is 60. 30 times 2. So we get 100. 110 is 2 Musinna, which is 40 times 2, 80, plus 1 Tabi'a, which is 30. 80 plus 30, 110. 120 will be 3 Musinna or 4 Tabi'a. 3 Musinna will be 3 times 40, which will be 120. 4 Tabi'a or Tabi'a will be 4 times 30, which is also equal to 120. So this is how we do it. For every 30 in cows, you pay 1 Tabi'a. And that is the first year, and it just started its second year. For every 40, you pay a Musinna. And that its second year is now in its third year. So this is the Nisab with respect to cows. Pretty, it's more straightforward than that of the camel. So for sheep, it's also pretty straightforward and, just like the cow. So if you have less than 40 sheep, there's no zakah to pay. The nisab for sheep is 40. The nisab for sheep is 40. 1 to 39 sheep, there's nothing to pay. So 40 is a cutoff point, the first cutoff point, which is the nisab. The next cutoff point after 40 is a while after, and that is 121. So if you have 40, you pay 1 sheep. 50, 1 sheep. 60, 1 sheep. 100, 1 sheep. 120, 1 sheep. So what Allah is asking from people, which many refuse to pay is minuscule. And Allah is the one that gave it in the first place and has the right to collect all of it, plus ziyada. You pay for having had it, for the benefit that you derive from it while you had it. If it gives you 1 million and it takes all the million, you derive benefit from this million and you should pay for that. But Allah is not doing this. He's giving us and He's only asking for something minuscule out of it. Yet, people evade zakah. Yet, people say they are paying zakah, but it is sadaqah. They have the nisab, but they just fix an amount that this is what I'm going to pay in zakah. Without reference to all these things that we have talked about. And it just spreads it, so it gives people, what would be enough maybe for one meal, and that's it. This is not zakah. So 40 sheep to 120, one sheep. 121 is the next cutoff point. We pay 2 sheep. After that, the next cutoff point is 201. We pay 3 sheep. So in the hadith of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he said, if it is between 201 and 300, you pay 3 sheep. Then he mentioned the next cutoff point to be 400, meaning that actually it is between 201 and 399. Because whenever something is not mentioned in the zakat band, it belongs to the previous zakat band. So definitely 350, 380, 399, they don't belong to this band. Neither do they belong to these. So they belong to this band over here. When you get to 400, then you pay 4 sheep. When you get to 400, you pay 4 sheep. When you get to 500, you pay 5 sheep. When you get to 500, you pay 5 sheep. So you see that from here, it is increments of 100 now. From 400, it is increments of 400. From 400, you get to 500. So anything from 400, for every 100, you pay what? 1 sheep. For every 100, you pay 1 sheep. 1 sheep more. So this is the nisab for sheep. So alhamdulillah, we've been able to cover the zakah for sheep. Before that, we did for cow. Before that, we did for camels. So I think we are all able to, we should all be able to do it now. So I'll ask us to, I'll ask us some questions. If we follow the class, we should be able to get those questions. So I'll ask again, what are the shurut? There are 4 conditions that should be met. They are part of the general conditions that should be met before paying zakat, but one may overlook that. So the Sheikh rahimahullah brought them as 4 conditions for the payment of zakat on bahimatul an'am. What are these 4 conditions? We treated them last week and we reminded us of them at the beginning of this class.
I think one of them is that they should be from the category like sheep, goat, camel, and cow.
Now, those are part of the general conditions. Barakallahu fiqh. The Sheikh Rahimahullah just mentioned 4 more that's actually extracted from those general ones, but can be easily overlooked.
And I think they need to be free range as well.
Okay, they need to be free range for what amount of time?
More than 50% of the year.
Barakallahu fikum. Barakallahu fikum. So they should be sa'ima, free range, non-working animals. They're not used for irrigatory purposes or for hurling load or anything like that. They are sa'ima, meaning they're free range. They eat the grass that Allah provides, not that the owner feeds them. And this type of feeding takes place for most of the year, more than 50% of the year. Then they are referred to as a sa'ima. This bahima, in this case, are referred to as a sa'ima once they are free range, non-working. Barakallahu fikum. That's one. What's the remaining 3?
The nisab.
Barakallahu fikum. They should be up to the nisab. And the nisab for camel is what?
5.
Before you start paying that 5, what number of camels must you have before you start paying on every 5? Can somebody help out?
24.
24. Now, barakallahu fiqh. 24. So if you have 24 for every 5, you pay 1 sheep in a zakat. Okay, so we have you've talked about nisab, you've talked about them being sa'im. What are the remaining 2? Let somebody else help out.
They must be kept for purposes, reproduction purposes, or wealth generation.
They must be kept for wealth generation purposes, barakallahu fikum, which can include being kept for reproducing, being kept for their milk,
Fattening,
or fattening, and all that. Now, last one, somebody else. 1 howl must have passed. 1 howl must have passed on them. Okay. Before the zakat is on them. So now let's go to the zakat on camels. The zakat that we pay, just to see that we follow the class. If I have 60 camels, what is the zakat that I'm going to pay? If I have 60 camels, what is the zakah that I'm going to pay? Madam Ziyad.
1 hiqqa.
1 hiqqa. How did you arrive at that? Can you let us know?
Okay. Because the first one is bintu makhad.
Naam.
The second is bintu labun.
Naam.
And then the third is I forgot the name. Okay, yes, hiqqa. The third one is hiqqa. So from 30 to from 25 to 35
Naam.
is bintu makhad.
Naam.
Then from 36 to 45
Naam.
is bintu labun.
Barakallahu fikum.
And from 46 to 60 is hiqqa.
Barakallahu fikum. Barakallahu fikum. Barakallahu fikum. Now, let me see who. Okay. Can someone tell us the meanings of bintul makhad, bintul labun, and hiqqa, and jada'a? these types of camels. Can someone tell us what is behind the names? Malam Mujib.
Assalamu alaikum. Sorry, I'm still trying to get my head around the names. But I know they've been to the one that has Laboon is the one who is bearing milk. And the other camel, there's one camel that is also of, reproductive age. The others, I'm still getting my head around them. I'm sorry.
Barakallah. Barakallah. Bintul Makhab is with reference to the mother of the camel in question, not the camel in question. Bintul Makhab is the daughter of the one at or near labor, meaning the mother that gave birth to this camel that we want to collect a zakah should ordinarily be pregnant and close to labor. So we gave an example of Maryam. فَأَجَاءَهَا الْمَخَاضُ إِلَى جِذْعِ النَّخْلَةِ, and the pangs of labor, took her to the stem of a date, of a palm tree. So where she gave birth. So makhad is labor. Bintul makhad is a camel whose mother should ordinarily, even if not in actual fact, she'll be pregnant or and close to or at labor. Bintul labun, like you rightly said, barakallahu fiqh, is the camel whose mother has given birth to another child, another camel, and is now with milk. Laban, labun. Haqqa, turuqat al-jamal. Taraqa is to knock on something. It is used, so if you knock on a door, Taraqa Abdullah al-Bab. So Abdullah knocked on the door. But now the Taraqa in this case is used as a figurative reference to mating. So Haqqa is a camel that now has the means, which is referred to as rights. Haq has the means or the maturity level to mate with a jamal, a male camel. So Haqqa turuqat al-jamal. Then Jada'a, nobody has mentioned Jada'a. What is behind the name Jada'a? What's the meaning?
I think the one that has grown the front teeth also. I can't remember.
Lost the front teeth. Barakallah. Barakallah. Now we followed, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So now if I have 170 camels, 170 camels, how many sheep or camels am I going to pay in zakah? I have 170 camels. How many sheep or camels am I going to pay in zakah?
Simon, I try?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I see. It's 3 banatul labun, pardon me, and 1
Okay.
hikka.
Barakallah fiqh. How did you get at that?
I screenshot your notes.
Barakallah fiqh. Barakallah fiqh. Can somebody explain how we got there?
Yeah, because
Now, Fadl.
Yeah, it's because for Bintul Labun, it's equivalent to 40 camel.
Barakallah
Then
fiqh.
4 times 3 will be 120. Then 1 hikka is 60 camel. It's equivalent to 60 camel.
50.
50, yeah.
Now, barakallah. So 50 plus 120 is 170. Barakallah fiqh. Barakallah fiqh. Alhamdulillah, we followed. So let us go back to the notes. Inshallah, we'll ask further questions in next class if Allah spares our lives till then. Barakallahu fikum. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. جزاكم الله خير.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. جزاكم الله خير.